Hello, lovely people. Face reveal. First of all, I really want to appreciate everyone who watched the first video on my YouTube channel detailing the Luka Doncic trade today. We're getting into a lot of other trade deadline moves, and also, what's up with the NBA All Star Game, man? It's kind of interesting, but I'm getting on a tangent. Enjoy the video.
I'm low-key kind of salty because I already recorded this video on audio and the mic wasn't working when I outputted it. But anyway, the NBA All-Star Game, an event that usually happens in the February of every NBA regular season. And there are some problems. The product that we are getting for the past few years has usually not been entertaining. And especially in an all-star game, which has a lot of eyes on it, needs to be. So we are in the 2025 year, and we've seen this constant, almost rinse and repeat of the all-star game. You have the skills contest, you have the three-point contest, the dunk contest, and the all-star game, possibly even some other festivities on Saturday. And I feel like the NBA has, tried to change up the format so it becomes more interesting. East to West, having some stakes like a trophy, all that type of stuff. And nothing has really ever seemed to make it genuinely interesting to watch. How we had the All-Star game a few years ago where it was just Curry shooting like the most ridiculous amount of threes. And yes, in a way, that is interesting to watch because we're watching one of the best doing what he is known for, right? That can be seen as interesting, but I think what a lot of people want to see is a competitive game. We are watching the NBA. We want to see the best of the best go versus each other and give it all they have. But why? Why should they give all they have? Why should they give all they have when there is a risk of injury whenever you're playing a basketball game, and especially for a game that is not supposed to have that high of stakes? It's hard to give all of your effort. It's hard to give all your effort when there is not really anything on the line. So here's my solution. Put something on the line. I think the format of the current All-Star game, especially this year, I think it was heavily flawed. I think playing to 40 with these teams in a way ideally maybe makes sense. You want to have more players being showcased rather than maybe someone on the bottom of your reserve is not really playing that much in an all-star game. But also, like, this product, like, is it truly entertaining to watch when we know the players aren't really playing for anything? Obviously, all-star game MVP is an accolade technically, but is it that high of an accolade to want or to strive for? I don't believe so, and I think that contributes to the type of product that we are getting. Mainly talking about the All-Star game. I think things like the dunk contest and skills contest, while having their flaws, are usually pretty consistent. The three-point contest, I think, is usually the same every year. Obviously, the players who are playing it are not the same every year, but it's usually two or three very ones that outweigh the rest of the shooters, and then one just makes their way out. This year it happened to be Tyler Hero, and again, the dunk contest. Some people have a bigger problem with the dunk contest than they have the All-Star contest, because the dunk contest this year was interesting, to say the least. You had, a guy like Mac McClung who really made it watchable and entertaining because of the dunks he performed, and Stephon Castle also had some very smooth dunks. But other than that, it was very forgettable. Like, if Mac McClung was not in the dunk contest, I don't think anybody would have remembered it. But he had some very, very good dunks that go down in history as some of the best dunks ever done in the dunk contest. But do we want, a dunk contest that is purely fueled by one person. Mac even said it at the end when asked if he was going to return next year. He said this was going to probably be his last one unless, the NBA really wanted him back. Which obviously they do, because when people see that Mac McClung is going to be dunking, they're like, what is he about to do now? And I think that bringing back, stars who have been proven to dunk, not like a Jaylen Brown, who obviously can dunk in game, but there's a huge difference, in my opinion, in dunking in game and just knowing how to do impressive dunks. The atmosphere is completely different. You don't have a player who is going to throw you like a lob all the time. It's you, and you're trying to do the most entertaining dunk as possible to get that 50. And I think that has flaws inherently too. But the dunk contest is more of not the format, but just getting dunkers, who can put some more entertaining dunks. 3-point contest, you can't really expect. I mean, you can predict all you want, like who's going to win, like if they've played before, but, and also the skills contest is, in my opinion, I don't love watching the skills contest. I think it's kind of boring to watch. So maybe making the skills more entertaining, but I definitely believe that upping the stakes of the All-Star game will make it more entertaining. Now that we've talked about that, let's get into a few more trade deadline moves. First one up on the screen, we are going to be talking about the De'Aaron Fox trade, where he obviously got traded from the Kings to San Antonio Spurs. The Kings received Zach LaVine, Sissoko, a few first-round picks and a few seconds, and the Bulls received Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and a first-round pick. So this seemed to be brewing before the actual trade came out. It was reported that the Kings were possibly going to put De'Aaron Fox on the open market to see what they could receive, because it seemed like he did not want to sign an extension and that he had a team in mind which he wanted to go if he was traded, and that team turned out to be the San Antonio Spurs. And when I first saw that report, it was kind of interesting, to be honest. If you just think about position-wise, like standings, going from the Kings to Spurs is like going from the Thunder to the Cavs, different standings, obviously, but like you're going to a basically same quality team in terms of record, but obviously you get to pair with Victor Wembanyama, one of the best up-and-coming players, who has been shown that he could be a superstar in the future. So I think I really like how the Spurs, bought into this, paired Wemby with a very good point guard in De'Aaron Fox. Not like a superstar or whatever, but all-star quality type of player who has been proven to be, one of the better guys in the NBA. So I think this is a really good trade for Spurs. I give the Spurs an A. Kings received Zach LaVine. And in terms of player return for De'Aaron Fox, I'm interested that the Kings went this way. Obviously, the Bulls pitched in, to get a player instead of possibly, maybe like 3 solid role players or something like that, but they went for a star kind of quality guy, like an all-star quality guy in Zach LaVine, which I think is interesting because, it's been long rumored that maybe the Bulls were trying to get off of LaVine, and they end up doing it in a 3-teamer with the Bulls. So I would give the Spurs an A, the Kings a C, and the Bulls like a D+. One of the biggest trades at the deadline was this trade, the Jimmy Butler trade, the thing that loomed over our head for a few months now. After it was reported that Jimmy was not happy in Miami, he obviously ended up putting in a trade request with one of his top teams, being the Suns, and what felt like his only team for a while. He ends up on the Warriors. The Warriors also received 2 second-round picks and cash considerations. The Heat got Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, first-round pick. The Jazz got Josh Richardson, KJ Martin, 2 seconds. The Pistons got Lindy Waters III, Dennis Schroeder, and a second round pick, and the Raptors got PJ Tucker, a second round pick, and cash considerations. This trade was funny because this is one of the few trades that I've seen, like the actual trade itself, not like any like point in time being like they are finalizing a trade or they are in advanced discussions. But Ohm Young-Masuk, one of the reporters, started reporting late that day. It was the day before the trade deadline. That was Wednesday, February 5th. I remember very clearly that the Warriors, they were playing a game that night, and that Steve Kerr brought all the guys back into the locker room, and they closed the locker room to the media, which usually does not happen. It usually happens like if something big is happening. And that they walked back out, and Steve Kerr looked upset, and that even after the fact, when the trade came out, it was showing that like, Steph was like dapping up Wiggins and all that. But when I saw like that it was closed, I was just like, oh, something's about to happen. And then I think a minute after I said that, or maybe like 30 seconds, the trade came out. And Warriors were one of those teams that were rumored to want Jimmy. That, being along with the Suns, teams like the Grizzlies, Bucks, were rumored to want Jimmy. And they ended up getting him. Something that really never made sense to me is why Jimmy wanted to go to the Suns that badly. The Suns and Jimmy, him getting on that team would have been dang near impossible if Bradley Beal did not waive his no trade clause, because just in terms of how money works, Beal would have had to been gone in that trade, and it did not seem like he wanted to leave Phoenix, even after being benched, which a lot of people saw as a ploy from the Phoenix Suns to increase disinterest on Beal's side, but that never seemed to be happening. That he would waive his no trade clause, not even to go to Miami, because it didn't seem like Miami wanted Beal, but possibly to a third team, which did not end up happening. And even in like the last 48 hours, it's possibly reported that the Suns would get rid of KD to get Jimmy, which I found very ridiculous. I know the Suns have been having their woes this season. They've not been playing up to expectations, which obviously you have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal on the same team. You should be a contender, but they currently are not. They are the 11th seed, sitting at 27-30. So it was really interesting when I saw the Warriors end up getting him. The Warriors have been playing really good with him, so I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, it seems like he's really happy in Golden State, which maybe makes me think that maybe, obviously, he's not gonna be like, I hate it here, when he just gets traded there and they give him extension. But yeah, the Warriors have been solid with getting Jimmy. They currently sit the 9th seed at 30-27. So I root for the Warriors. Like, I've watched a few of their games with Jimmy playing. He seems to fit pretty well, so not really any complaints on that side. I've never really been the biggest fan of Jimmy Butler. Obviously he led the Heat to 2 finals appearances, so I can't really discredit him or anything, but just the way in which all this happened, like him getting suspended multiple times, walking out and he realized that Haywood Highsmith was starting in front of him, and just all of it culminating in him getting traded to the team that was not, it was kind of not a dark horse, like the Warriors were rumored to get him, but the fact that he didn't end up getting traded to the Suns, I just find it funny, because the Suns seemed like they really wanted to get him, and they didn't really end up doing anything other than trading Jusuf Nurkic. So overall, I would give the Warriors a B+, A-. I really like this trade for the Warriors. I think it makes more sense than the Suns. I would give the Heat a B-. I mean, Wiggins is solid. Davion Mitchell, I've heard people really like him for his defense. Kyle Anderson is kind of just a role player. The Jazz obviously find a way to include themselves, like they do in everything. They got Josh Richardson and KJ Martin in a few seconds, so I called it a dub. And then Pistons get Dennis Schroeder and Lyndon Waters. I think that's solid for them. Obviously, they gave up picks in the draft. That's how they ended up getting what they got back. And then Raptors received PJ Tucker in a second, which I find funny because PJ Tucker ended up with the Heat after a previous trade. And then he, then he got rerouted back to the, not back to, but he got rerouted to the Raptors, which I found funny because I actually thought he was going to stay with the Heat and possibly play some games for them, but he ends up going to the Raptors. He ends up going to Toronto. So yeah, I think I'm really only grading the Warriors and the Heat, but Jazz, I have to give them an A+. Like, they just got, it's not free, obviously, like, they got rid of players, but PJ Tucker was not going to play for the Jazz, I don't think. So I just give them a dub. I have to. The Pistons, I think Lindy Waters is solid. I think he's probably going to get more minutes than he did on the Warriors, possibly. Dennis Schroeder is going to be a good veteran for that young team. Probably is most likely going to get a lot of minutes. Not a lot of minutes, but a decent amount of minutes. And then, so that was that.